Hi everyone, it's Tuesday the 4th of April, weekly preview time, and finally I'm outside for the first time this year. I'm just going to spin round, but take a look at those skies, look at that. Oh, no wind either. It's not the hottest day, but who needs Portugal when it's like this? Anyway, few races to talk about, or events to talk about this week, and then one subject I particularly want to get into. But just want to touch on the fact that on Sunday I went to the South of England Road Relay Championships, 6 stage for women, 12 stage for men. They were on Sunday at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, Stratford, London, and the day before we had the Northern and the Midland Championships going on. I come away from these events, I love them and hate them. Hate them as team managers. Organising relay teams is one of the most stressful and awkward parts of the job, but I love it because there's always a great atmosphere at relays, and especially when some of the top-notch runners turn up and represent their clubs. It creates even more interest and excitement. You know, if I took the top 6 men's legs at the South, it would be quite a road race this. It had Ellis Cross, Jack Rowe, Johnny Davis, Alex Lepetra from Highgate, James Kingston, who won the National, and Steve Scullion, the top-class marathon runner from Ireland. Not a bad 6, that. And similarly in the Northern, the women's race, Jess Judd turned out for Blackburn Harriers, who won by 15 seconds. Jess was, I think, the fastest long leg by 1 minute 59 seconds. And on her Strava she wrote, "Honestly, one of the best days in my running career." Well, I replied and said it must have been pretty good for the other 5 in the team having her there. But there's just something special about a team event. You know, you can do all you like and achieve so much as an individual, but you feel part of a team. There's nothing quite like it. And actually, it strikes me what's happening is with these events, you're getting a mass of fellow runners supporting during the race as well, so it creates quite an atmosphere. It's just a shame sometimes that the relays get a bit lost amongst all the other stuff going on. But anyway, what's coming up? Well, we've got Easter weekend, of course. Friday's Good Friday, Sunday Easter Sunday, and then we've got the Easter Monday. There's plenty of sort of spring open meetings, and hopefully, if this weather continues, there'll be some decent performances around the country. But I'll start with tomorrow night, Wednesday. It's the first of the Watford Wednesdays of the year. I see they've moved from putting it all on Open Track onto the roster app, where you can see all the entries classified by age group for each event. So yeah, it's not quite the same as it used to be, when entries were unlimited effectively, so anyone could turn up on the night and enter. So there's certainly more of a shift towards the younger age groups at Watford, but still a great venue, great evening, and some of the best open meetings in the country really are held there. It's just a shame that many of the students and senior athletes miss out, because it's the parents of the younger ones who book them up early and fill the spaces. But there you go. First one tomorrow night, Wednesday, at Watford. Let's hope they have a nice evening for that. And I'm always interested in seeing the results. There's always some good ones there. Then on Friday, we've got the Bristol 5K races. Bristol and West putting on their show on the road races down there. I see they've got over 400 entries, and that is on the Open Track website. Some very intriguing, interesting entries. So on the women, you've got Philly Bowden, Ellie Wallace and Kira McGeehan. Don't forget Kira and Philly definitely with New Balance. So they're obviously going down there as a team to have a crack at 5K. And on the men, we've got Josh Grace, Ephraim Giddy from Ireland, who's broken 14 minutes as well, and Zach Seddon's entered as well, so that'll be interesting. But one name I spotted, which might not mean much to some of you younger guys, is a vet 55 called Simon Muggleston, who back in the day was perhaps even a bit older than a teenage phenom. He ran 13:28 when he was very young for 5,000 metres, and good to see him still in the sport. So shout out to Simon Muggleston there. Then we have I see they're still going on and always great fun. We've got the Isle of Man Easter Festival, which is a Friday 10k, Saturday hill race and Sunday 5k. Loads of students go up there over there for that. And then the Guernsey Easter runs, which I did, I think it was back in the 80s. Used to be 10k and then a cross country, then a relay, and then a half marathon. But now it's a Friday 5k, Saturday cross country race over just over 4 miles, Sunday a 4 times 1 mile event, and then a Monday 10k. So that's the Guernsey Easter runs, and always some good performance there. So there's some of the events that I'll pick out for the days ahead. But I thought a lot of people are scared of this topic, won't talk about it, but I'm going to have a go. It's the hot topic of the transgender athletes being allowed to compete in female events or not, women's events or not, and the athletes called DSD athletes, which are diverse sexual development athletes. There's been a ruling by World Athletics that's been out for a couple of weeks now where in world ranked events, no transgender male to female athletes will be allowed to compete in the women's events, and on the DSD side they've halved the testosterone levels that are required, and they've increased the period to 2 years that they've got to be within that tolerance. Excuse me. And that was put out, and we were all waiting to see what UK Athletics would come out with, and of course they've now followed it, which is great, and get a lot of kudos for it. It's a very tough one for inclusion and fairness, but I did a survey, or was it back last summer? 98% of people in that sport seem to think fairness for women's sport is absolutely key, and that transgender athletes should not be allowed to compete in women's events. One of my golden retrievers is causing a stir. Alfie, come here. Don't know what he's on about. But this is all very well, great on paper, but what's going to happen in reality? So far, there's been no guidance at all for athletes, team managers, clubs, event organisers, officials of what to do with any cases. First of all, how do you identify them? I'm talking about the level of event that many of us, or most of us, compete at or are involved at. Don't like the term grassroots, because grassroots crosses over into elite somewhere. It's a grey area. Starting at when somebody actually joins a club, tick the box, male or female. What happens there? They tick the box how they were born, but then if they've got involved in any of these areas, then there's going to be some sort of form of dialogue, which can be very awkward without any guidance or clear ruling. Then when it comes to an event, excuse me, I'm just going to stop these guys barking. Sorry about that, just sorted a couple of the dogs out, enjoying the sunshine in the garden, but barking a bit. As I was saying, range of cases. At some point somebody has to put in a protest, a complaint. Sometimes the athlete themselves might hold their hands up and explain about their situation, which extremely awkward, could potentially be embarrassing. And you have to feel for anybody involved in that sort of situation, and so for everybody it's not an easy process. And even if somebody was trying to be shall we say deceptive and go against the rules, then a complaint has to go in. Who's going to investigate? Who's going to monitor it? Who's going to... that's going to take time and money, especially if it goes to the governing bodies, or it's going to be volunteers that have to do it. That's okay, but then, what about privacy, confidentiality? How's the decisions going to be communicated? What does that do to the athlete involved? Very, very difficult. And then when it comes to the DSD and testosterone levels, that's all very well for World Athletics with perhaps more widespread drug testing of elite athletes, who's going to monitor testosterone levels and requirements at club level, if you like? Somebody could pass once, but then go back or reduce the amount of medication taken. And is it fair to ask people to suppress their testosterone? Is it healthy? I don't know, but just seems a lot of questions. And it's okay, UK Athletics putting out a statement saying these are the rules, but rules are only as good as they are policed and monitored and explained to all those that have to adhere to them and uphold them. Lots of questions there before I see a way out of this for everybody and a way forward that is satisfactory. There aren't that many cases around, presumably. I'm aware of about a dozen perhaps in UK running, but how, and some of those are open about their situation, which is fine, but then what options are left to them in terms of where to compete and how to compete, etc. This talk of an open category, but then you still have to enter an open category with a female name or whatever, and it's some parts that I feel uneasy about on one side, but very strongly about on the other, about we have to protect women's sport as well. And you're seeing posts about many of the other sports. I saw one about golf yesterday where a golfer won a tournament, and that was a transgender golfer, and very, very awkward, especially for the women who perhaps miss out on prize money or whatever. So still a long way to go. I don't know how this is going to develop. All very well until cases are explored and followed up. That's it. That's all I've got for this week. Hope it made you think a little bit. Hope it's useful to others. Hope the weather stays as it is. No wind, bit of warmth, bit of sun, and kudos to all of you staying in the UK rather than taking the option of going to Portugal or whatever for training. So hope you have a good week. Cheerio.